So right now in the UK, there is a huge crisis going on with hundreds of thousands of business owners up and down the country because they're all relying on a data center to manage their websites. And the problem is that this data center partly has had a fault due to some technical challenges, but partly we feel that there's been an attack. It's called a DDoS, or a distributed denial of service attack, and it's when hackers try and bombard a server with malicious code, basically. And what happens is that the site goes down, or the server goes down. And so there's two things here, and there's the attack, and then there's also the problem with the services, the actual hardware that's gone down. And what that means is that hundreds of thousands of websites have just crashed. And all of these people have tried to go to the website for the data center to be able to find out what's happening. But because the website for the data center is on the data center that's gone down, so nothing's online. And no one can email because all of their emails have gone down. All of their websites have gone down. So people have taken to Twitter. And you can see when you go onto Twitter, you've only got to type in either heart internet or website down or UK website down. And it's just, there's just so many people. Some are angry, some are supportive, some are stressing out, people are jumping ship. I posted a link to my hosting company on Twitter, and I had hundreds of people flood to my site looking at my services. So there's a real problem. And the whole reason I'm making this video is not just to tell you about that, but also just a couple of things that you can do right now to prevent problems happening in the future. Okay, and the first of this is, look, things will go wrong. It's technology. You don't have control. You may think you do, but shit happens and you have to deal with it. So when something goes wrong, don't react. Don't get emotional. Don't start shouting and screaming and swearing. You need to be confident in your team and that the people that you're using, the services that you're using, you need to be confident enough that if something goes down, they are going to be on it and they are going to fix it. And as soon as they possibly can, they're going to get it back up online. You need to have that confidence. You need to know that if something goes wrong, if shit hits the fan, they're going to jump and they're going to kick into gear and they're going to fix it. The second thing, if your website goes down and your emails are hosted on your website and the server goes down that your website and your emails are on, nobody can contact you. They have to go to social media. So it makes sense to put your website on one server and your emails on a different server. You may think that's two different services and it's a nightmare to manage, but if one goes down, at least the other is still up. If you have a problem with spam, it's not going to affect your website. And if you have a problem with your server or your website, it's not going to affect your email. I highly recommend you use a service for your website that is specifically designed, a managed hosting solution for your website. If you're on WordPress, which so many people are, get managed WordPress hosting. WP Engine, a great example. They do fantastic hosting. You can use them, but they don't do email. Any good, reputable hosting company will not touch email. You need an email provider. And you can use something like Zoho Mail, or what I use and I recommend is Google. Gmail, Google Apps for Business. You can use Google because Gmail's fantastic. Yes, of course they have problems, but they're the biggest in the world for a reason. So I'll make sure that my email goes through that. So your email is stored on Google, your website is stored on WP Engine, or speak to myself, I can help you with that. But the main thing to know is that you keep them separate. And the third thing to know is that you should always have a backup of your site. If your host backs up your website and they're responsible for your website, that's absolutely fine. It's good to have that. But if your host backs up the website on their server and your host server goes down, then not only does your website go down, but your backup goes down with it. Never, ever back your website up on the same server that your website's on. It's just, you need to have your backup somewhere else. You should be backing up to Dropbox or Google Drive or Amazon S3, and you should have a copy somewhere well away from your website. That way, if your server goes down, you can pick up your backup, put it onto a different server, get your site up as long as it takes to propagate your domain name, normally about 15 to 20 minutes. There are 3 things there that you can do. Make sure your email is somewhere else. Make sure that you're not stressing out when your site goes down, because shit happens. And make sure that you have a backup away from your host. Hopefully those 3 things will help you moving forward. If something, God forbid, does happen in the future, you'll be protected a lot better knowing that you can deal with it.